What are my earliest memories? Well, before I answer the question, I need to tell you that this is the kind of question that fascinates me. I don't know if that's something that you think about, not only about what are those memories, but what memory is, how it happens, how it works, how time works. In my other podcast, Jesus Changes Everything, a week or so ago, I did a segment in which I basically looked back 20 years and said, this is what was going on 20 years ago. And then looked back 20 more years and said, but this is what was going on 20 years before that. And the gap between those two was just shocking. Then I did it with 30 years and 40 years and 50 years. It's a fascinating thing to me that time changes, we change, our experience changes, and yet there's this connection, this continuity between who we were and who we are. And then there's also this disconnect between who we are and who we were because we don't go all the way back to our beginning in terms of our memories. Now, I don't know what age I was, but my oldest memory, I was less than 4. I know that. I could have been 3, I could have been 2, I could have been younger. I don't know. But what I remember was being babysat by the woman across the street from where my parents lived. This was in a suburb of Boston when my father taught at Gordon College. And I was being babysat at that neighbor's house, and I remember being in the crib where I was supposed to be taking a nap, and I remember starting to cry. I don't know why I started to cry, but I remember the crying created this pain in my eyes. My eyes hurt, not like they didn't sting because of something in them. It was just sort of the muscle strain of the crying that caused the pain. And then I just kept crying because it kept hurting and it just kept getting worse. And that's about the sum of my earliest memory. What's also difficult to understand, though, is that I'm not even sure that I remember it, because what happens to us sometimes is you get told about something you did when you were young, and it sort of becomes a pseudo memory where you don't actually remember it on your own, but having remembered the story, you kind of fill in the blanks. I had that happen again around the same age. Couldn't have been exactly the same age because we lived in Philadelphia at the time, and my dad was teaching at the Conwell School at Temple, and I was in the car. They were waiting for them to take somewhere. I'm not sure where we were going, and I put the car in reverse, and my dad came rushing out and leapt over the bushes in front of the porch and got in the car and stopped it just before it got into the street. That particular story is in my book about my life growing up with my father, growing up with RC. And again, I don't know exactly how old I was. I don't even know if I remember if I was told. Now, this comes to mind when we go through one of these, in some sense, artificial changes. When we come to the new year, it's not going to be a year later than the day before. It's going to be a day later than the day before. But we're going to divide our lives by these years and even by these decades. You know, I remember where I was New Year's Eve, 1980. That was 40 years ago. In fact, it was just the other day, my wife asked me, what was your favorite New Year's Eve? And that's the one I named because nothing particularly exciting or fun happened, but I remember staying up and listening at the local radio station, played through Pink Floyd's The Wall, all 3 records. And I remember enjoying it. Now, that was only 40 years ago. I was 15 by that time, so it was not an amazing thing that I remember it. But it is a memory of a new year, of a new decade, and we're starting a new decade, by the way, for the math challenged. It's 2011 through 2020 is a decade, and 221 through 230 will be a decade as well. So mark this day write down some memories, try to get them etched in there. And I do hope, whatever else happens, that 2021 will be better than 2020 and that you will have a joyful New Year's holiday.